Well then, let us begin where no one need be offended. A young man said to me last winter, "Beyond mind? That sounds like a comforting lie. Very well. We do not need to argue, we can test. Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord. Not tomorrow, not after you have studied a dozen books. Now, only one fair question, and only your honesty is required. If you can watch a thought, what are you? Watch one now, anyone. The thought of your name, the thought of last night's conversation, the thought that says this is foolish or promising or boring. If that thought can be seen, must there not be something already present that is not the thought, a seeing before the seen, an awareness prior to whatever flickers across it? This is not a belief. It is the hinge on which belief falls away. As surely as 2 times 2 is 4, if there is an observed object, there is an observing presence, not equal, not identical, not bound in the same fashion. Where is that presence when I say I? How are you going to localize that? In the head? In the chest? In the breath? Now where am I? Am I here? Behind the eyes, as if the skull were a room? Am I here in the heartbeat? No, no. When a thought of the head arises, it is seen. When a sensation in the chest arises, it is noticed. Whatever is noticed cannot be the whole of what you are, for the witness remains when the notice subsides. Be still and know that I am God. The stillness is not a void of effort. It is the simple fact that the seer is not the seen, absent from the body, present with the Lord, which is to say, absent from identification in the passing content, present with that which knows content without being contained by it. Do not suppose I ask you to abandon your reason or your unbelief. I do not. I never ask anyone to exchange one idol for another. We bow to no other God but the one reality, and this reality invites verification. Taste and see that the Lord is good. If your taste finds nothing, you will have told the truth, and truth never harms. If your taste finds a quiet prior to thought, you will also have told the truth, and truth frees. Either way, the only requirement is that you do not pretend. Once in Zurich, a physicist told me, half laughing, "Beyond mind is sponge cake." I said, "Fine. While you speak, notice the phrase, as a cloud. Who is aware of the cloud?" He laughed again, but this time the laugh broke in the middle because he saw it. The phrase appeared and disappeared. The one who saw it did not arrive with the phrase and did not depart with it. No projection, no trance, no drama. Simply the ordinary miracle awareness as the ground thought, as the ripple. You may ask, isn't this just attention? Call it what you like. But first be honest. Before the name attention arises, is not the knowing of the name already present? Even the skeptic's sentence, "This is nothing special," is a picture in the gallery. The gallery is quietly there before the painting is hung. The kingdom of God is within you. Within, not as a location in tissue, but as that unpinned presence by which location is known. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. And the doorway to that oneness is not belief. It is the recognition that the door is noticed, and the noticer is not a door. So we agree, you and I, not to argue metaphysics, not to decorate the mind. We agree to the fair test. If a thought is seen, something is already here that is not the thought. Attend to that without forcing, without promise, without fear. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Or knock and find a quiet hallway. Either way, honesty is our only vow. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. We are merely the witnesses who consent to see. And in that consent, gently, without strain, the first truth dawns. I am not in the physical. I am not the passing noise. I am aware, and awareness is already here. Let us take one step further, not by argument, but by listening. Right where you are, without ceremony, listen. The faintest thing will do, the hum of a light, the tread of a shoe far off, a car moving through wet street, the soft rhythm of your own breath. Do not strain, do not reach. Merely notice that hearing is already present before the mind has time to name it. The label car, fan, breath arrives after the event, like a clerk stamping the paper long after the business is finished. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. The ears are not the hearing. The label is not the life. The simple fact is this: hearing is here before language, and language is only a ripple on the surface of what is already awake. Now bring that same honesty inside. Thoughts are sounds in consciousness. They clang and murmur, they rehearse and argue, they flatter and accuse, they appear, they vanish. They speed up when you pay them to speak, they settle when you withdraw their wages. Watch one come, watch one go. Not that, not that. No. The anger thought arises seen. The worry thought arises seen. The proud rehearsal arises seen. Whatever you can notice cannot be the whole of what you are. The hearer is not the noise, the seer is not the flicker. Be still and know that I am God. The stillness is not an achievement. It is the unrumbling fact that knowing is prior to the rumble, and it remains when the rumble falls quiet. Do not misunderstand me. I am not asking you to enter a trance. I am not proposing special effects, no white lights, no buzzing crown, no dramatic swoon. I am not asking you to swallow a new doctrine. Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord. Pravi, not pretend. Let the kettle hiss, let the siren pass, let the thought say, this is silly. All of that is the choir of moving air. The awareness that knows the hiss, the wail, the sentence, did it arrive with any one of them? Did it depart when they ceased? No. No. It did not come with the sound. It does not go with the silence. It is the silence in which both are noticed. Once in a hotel corridor, a porter dropped a tray, and the crash rang out like a small thunder. For a breath there was only ringing. Then the mind leaped, poor man, and the story began. But the knowing of the ring was there before the story. And when the story ran down, the knowing remained untouched. So with your inner tray, when memory crashes, when fear rings, when pride parades, first there is the sound, then the naming, then the story. Beneath and before and after, the awareness. Faith cometh by hearing, the apostle wrote. Yes, faith comes by hearing, but not by the clang of opinion. Faith comes by recognizing that which hears prior to the word, that which is present when the sermon of the mind is over and even the preacher falls silent. Let us make a clean deconstruction. I am not the breath I can hear, no. I am not the clock I can hear, no. I am not the thought I can hear arguing for its life, no. I am not the excitement about discovery, no. These are garments hung on the line. They stir in the wind. They dry. They are taken in. The line itself is not the garments. The spirit is not the noise that passes through it. Absent from the body, present with the Lord, which here means absent from enthrallment with passing sound, present with the living awareness by which sound is known. In the beginning was the Word, and yet before the syllable there is that which is not born and does not die, the unconfined I that I am. No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of a sound, nor will one ever. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea, not with the chatter about them. So we do not add, nothing is added. We subtract what we never were. Not that. Not that. No. The taste for this negation is not harsh. It is merciful. It frees us from worshiping noise as self And when the noise is seen as object, thought is seen as object, sensation is seen as object, there rises gently, like a dawn, the honest next question, the only fair question. If these are objects, what is the subject? Who is the I that hears, that sees, that knows? I am not in the physical. I am merely the instrument. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. In that humility we do not grasp, we receive. We do not make, we listen. And even now, quietly, under every sound, the prayer begins to pray itself, Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Now take the next honest step with me. When you say I, point to it, not to a name, not to a story, point to the I. You mean when you say, I am listening, I am worried, I am here. Where is it located? Behind the eyes. Put your finger there. Now notice the pressure of the finger is felt. The darkness behind the lids is seen. A thought says, this is my head. Each of these is an appearance, perceived. If it is perceived, it is not the perceiver. No. The seer is not behind the eyes any more than the movie is inside the screen. Then perhaps you will point to the chest. I feel myself here. Very well, there is warmth, a rhythm, a flutter when emotion stirs. Are these not sensations known in the same field in which a sound is known? The pulse rises and settles, the breath deepens and shallows, the word heart forms and dissolves. The knower of the rise and fall does not rise and fall with it. Be still and know that I am God. The stillness does not live in a chamber. The knowing does not beat. The beat is known. To the belly, to the hands, to the spine. Follow the tour. Each stop offers you a sensation, a picture, a thought. Each is an object on the table of awareness. Whatever you can notice cannot be the whole of what you are. The I that says my hand is not a finger. The I that says my back aches is not an ache. If a limb is numbed, the I that reports numbness is not numb, it knows numbness. And if sleep passes over the body and dreams play upon a stage, who wakes and says, with a curious accuracy, I slept well. There was an I not counted in dreams and not lost in their ceasing. Some will say, it is in the head, in the brain. But what do you have there now except a thought and perhaps a picture from a book? A diagram on a page is not you. An idea of neurons firing is not you. Even should you see the pink and gray in a glass room, that sight is yet an appearance in awareness. I tell you as a point of logic, not as a boast. No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside a body. They have found structure, marvel, delicate law, yes, but not the one who says me. In him we live and move and have our being. Being is not a lump in tissue. It is the light by which tissue is known. Where then is I? When I say I, how are you going to localize that? Now where am I? Am I here, where a thought points? Am I there, where a pulse thuds? No. The moment you point the finger and the spot pointed at become objects, and the true subject remains unpointed, quietly aware of the pointing. This is not evasion. It is the clean edge of honesty. The I you truly mean cannot be pinned to a place, because it is that by which place is known. Whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend to the head, thou art there. If I descend to the heel, thou art there. Presence is not in the point is in presence. Let us be morally exact as well. Do not set up the body as a god. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. When you worship a location, you bow to an image. When you acknowledge the unlocalized I, you honor God, the only I. I am not in the physical. I am absent from the body and present with the Lord, which is to say, absent from enthrallment to localization and present with the living awareness that knows all place without being placed. What follows from this is not a trick, not an occult venture, but a simple shift of approach. If I cannot be found as an object, it cannot be grasped, it can only be recognized in receptivity. We do not reach, we allow, we do not strain, we consent, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord. In a moment we will enter 90 seconds of silence with no goal, not to catch an eye, not to produce a state, but to yield a hunt and notice that which was never hunted. I am merely the instrument. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. And even now, before the clock moves one notch, let the prayer breathe itself. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Now let us honor the promise, not with strain, but with a simple human arrangement. There is no occult reason for any of it, only one of physical comfort. Sit in a chair low enough that your feet rest easily on the floor. Let the spine be upright but not rigid, as if a thread lifts the crown gently while the shoulders drop of their own accord. Place the hands wherever they can forget themselves on the lap, palms down or folded loosely, never propped, never gripping. If you wish, close the eyes. If not, let the gaze soften without fixing upon a point, and let the breath come and go as it pleases. We are not training the breath. We are not training the mind. We are consenting to notice what is already here. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Now, our only rule, do not try to stop thinking. Do not try to produce peace. No. The effort to force quiet is only more noise. We are not making a state. We are witnessing what is. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and make a blank. Not be still and capture a prize. Be still and know. For these few moments, watch the simple procession. First, a thought arises. Any thought. It may be the phrase, I am doing it wrong. It may be the shopping list dressed up as urgency. It may be a memory, half sweet, half bitter. Let it be. Second, the thought is seen like a cloud noticed against the sky. You do not run after the cloud, you simply recognize there it is. Third, the thought dissolves. Not by your pushing, by the nature of thoughts. They do not stay paid if you stop paying them. Another comes. It too is seen. It too moves on. That is all. Between and beneath, ask this fair question. What remained present while the thought changed? The words changed, the pictures changed, the feeling tones paraded through what did not move. If you answer with another thought, notice that, the answer is in the noticing itself. The gallery does not arrive with each new painting. The painting arrives and is removed, and the gallery stands. In him we live and move and have our being. The being is not the painting. It is the light by which the canvas is seen. Do not argue, attend. If a siren passes, let it pass. If a bird speaks at the window, let it speak. If the knee murmurs, I am uncomfortable, do not fight the knee. The awareness that knows discomfort, did it become uncomfortable or did it know discomfort? This is not a trick. It is honesty. You are not required to bleach the mind. You are invited to acknowledge that which knows the coloring of it without becoming stained. Now, mark this with me. Because it carries great mercy, the minimum result is success. If in these moments you notice only that you are distracted, that is awareness functioning. If the thought, I failed, appears, and you see it appear, that seeing is the point. If impatience flares, and you notice its heat, that noticing is the point. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. The knocking is the noticing. The opening is the recognition that the door is noticed, and the noticer is not a door. Let the last seconds be without commentary. A thought rises, seen, dissolves. Another rises, seen, dissolves. What remained present while each changed? Not an object, not an achievement, not a prize, simply this aware presence, unpinned and quiet, absent from the body, present with the Lord. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea, and here the first taste of it is not dramatic, only true. As you open the eyes or lift the gaze, do not drop the thread. The room appears. The awareness in which it appears has not altered. You do not have to eliminate thought to recognize the awareness that knows thought. You have tasted enough for today's fairness, and in the heart, without strain, let the prayer that needs no voice utter itself. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Now the skeptic within, honest and useful, clears his throat. All right, he says, this is just attention, a brain function, neurons aligning. Nothing spiritual? Good. We welcome him. Come, let us reason together, saith the Lord. We will not crush this question with dogma. We will not throw incense at a laboratory. We will look. Now, while the phrase just attention is presenting itself, who is aware of that phrase? Before you send the concept to the brain department, did not the noticing of the concept arrive first? Even if you call it attention, the immediate fact remains. Awareness is present prior to any explanation. Very well, the skeptic persists. Attention is a process that selects stimuli. Perhaps, but process is a word arriving after the event. Selection is a word arriving after the noticing. The report does not precede the seeing. It follows it like a shadow. Now answer me plainly. Is attention itself something you can observe, arising, lingering, and departing like a sound? If so, it is an object, and the observer is again prior. Or is attention simply the name we give to this very observing, which is not seen as an object at all? Not a concept, not a conclusion, only recognition. Then you are saying it's all semantics. No, no. Words will always come late to the feast. We are not changing labels. We are acknowledging the loaf we are already eating. Taste it again. Before the word attention, before the word brain, there is this naked knowing of the word's appearance. If you doubt it, set down the words and see whether the knowing has gone. It has not. In him we live and move and have our being. We do not live in the word lives in the being that knows it. But the brain is necessary. Perhaps for reports, speech, coordination, yes, in the realm of instruments. I am grateful for the piano, but I do not mistake it for the music. The strings vibrate, the wood resonates, the tone is heard, yet the hearing is not in the string. No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of an instrument, absent from the body, present with the Lord, absent from enthrallment with mechanism, present with the living awareness in which mechanism is recognized. Couldn't you be imagining all this? If you are, who knows the imagining? Imagining is an object too. This is imagination, says a thought. Noted. The notice is prior. This is special, says another. Noted. The notice is prior. This is nothing, grumbles a third. Noted. The notice is prior. Be still and know that I am God. Be still, do not wrangle terms, and know directly, immediately, without a middleman of theory. Now observe the pivot that offends no intelligence. Beyond mind does not mean anti-thought. It does not mean scorning language, condemning ideas, caging the brain. No, no. Beyond here means prior. Prior to thought as the light before the picture, as the silence that makes the note audible, as the gallery that does not arrive with the painting. When the mind names this priorness attention, it is not wrong. It is simply late. The recognition is earlier than the name, not a concept, not a conclusion, only recognition. If this is true, it will prove itself without argument. When you sit again on the train, in the office, in the kitchen, notice the next thought as it forms. Instantly, you will see that the noticing did not have to be manufactured. It was already there. When a feeling surges pleasure, grief, pride, notice that the surge is known, the knowing did not surge. In that priorness, the commandment is quietly kept. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. We do not worship the report about awareness. We bow to the living awareness itself, the I that is not in the physical, the I that says, I and my Father are one. Then what follows? A gentleness. If awareness is prior to interpretation, you are free to let interpretation be what it is, useful tool, not tyrant. Thought is welcomed as servant, released from its pretense as master. Language returns to its place, and love finds room to act. This is not a trick, not an achievement. It is the simple honesty we began with. Knock, and it shall be opened. Or better see that the door was never closed to the one who is noticing the knocking. And in that quiet, as a whisper that does not argue, hear again the word that steadies us, Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. There is a moment in this work that I have come to call the click. Not a spectacle, not a trumpet at the ceiling, not a heat that climbs the spine. No, no. The click is quieter than that. It is the soft, undeniable settling in which the hunt stops hunting because it sees that the quarry was never absent. It is the little yes without words, the sense that being aware does not have to be done. Be still and know that I am God. The knowing arrives when the doing relaxes. The stillness appears not as a result, but as the fact that was always here. I have waited for that click hundreds, thousands of times. I wait in a state of receptivity until finally the click comes, not by forcing, not by reaching, not by bargaining. Force contracts. Receptivity opens. Effort, when it is personal and striving, wraps itself around a result and squeezes it out of sight. Desireless receptivity, willing to have nothing, willing to see anything, opens the door that in truth was never closed. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. The knocking is not a battering ram. It is a gentle hand on the knob of willingness. Let us make a small second practice to make this honest. Sit as you wish, or stand, or lie where you are. No special posture is necessary beyond comfort that lets the body forget itself. Let a thought come, any thought. Do not choose a noble one. Let it arrive as weather does. See it, let it go. Another thought, see it, let it pass. Now rest, not as a thoughtless blank, but as that which remained present between the thoughts, during the thoughts, after the thoughts. The resting is not laziness, it is sobriety. This is not self-hypnosis, this is not suggestion, this is not painting the mind white. This is the simple, alert recognition of what is always already here. Awareness, unmoved by the moving. In Him we live and move and have our being. The being is not moving, though movement is known in it. When the click comes, it is often so gentle, you may be tempted to despise it. Do not. A small hinge can swing a great door. The taste is this: I am not in the physical. I am absent from the body, present with the Lord, which here means absent from the anxious grasping at states, present with the presence that requires no grasping. The breath is breathing, the room is the room, The world continues to be worldly, and yet a pressure has left your hand. The compulsion to interfere is gone. The compulsion to improve. Reality is seen as absurd. The sense I must hold this is replaced with I am held. I and my Father are one, not two, not a joined pair, one. If you ask, how do I keep the click? I must answer you plainly by not trying to keep it. Effort contracts, receptivity opens. If you chase it, you put it at a distance. If you display it, you turn it into a trinket. If you try to use it, you lose the fragrance and keep a bottle. You cannot employ God. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. You cannot make a law serve a private project. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. The click itself bows to that commandment, for it is the recognition of the one before which no other is needed. Now you will say, very rightly, if this is so, then life changes. How do I live from here? Yes, that is the faithful next question. The click is not an end, it is an axis. When receptivity replaces effort, a new government begins to be felt subtle, strong, impersonal, loving. Guidance is no longer drawn by guesses, it is given, and with it a gravitation appears not toward advantage, not toward manipulation, but toward integrity and love. For if awareness is real, it expresses as care. If oneness is true, it shows up as neighborliness. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, not as a discipline to earn a favor, as the natural behavior of a consciousness not divided against itself. So you will return to the little practice as often as the day permits. Let a thought come, let it go, rest as that which remains. Each time, not chasing, not holding, merely consenting. And in the midst of activity, the click will be present as a quiet readiness, a willingness not to be the operator. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. See, do not manufacture. Stand, do not grasp. And as the minutes of life proceed with their errands, let the password rise on the inner tongue, not as a spell, but as consent. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. In that grace, the will softens, the heart clears, and what must be done is done through you, not by you. I am merely the instrument. God is the actor. We must speak now of safety, not fear, but safety, the safety rail of law. There is a law in this universe as clean as mathematics and as impartial as gravity. Do not ever tamper with the cosmic law because it is a double-edged sword. It blesses according to its nature and it cuts according to its nature. Without anger, without preference, without personal judge. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. This is not punishment, it is principle. If you violate 2 times 2 is 4, you do not incur the wrath of an angry mathematician, you simply cannot build the bridge. If you drive against the traffic signal, you do not offend a policeman, you meet the fact that red means stop, and through that defiance you may meet the inevitable tangle. So with spiritual principle. It is impersonal. It cannot be made to serve a private project. It will not alter its nature to bless a grasping intention. When you touch awareness, do not imagine you have found a lever to move your neighbor. No, no. If you come to this silence to control a person, win an argument, seal a sale, or slip past a moral debt, you have already placed another God before the one. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. The moment a private gain becomes your altar, you have ceased to be absent from the body and present with the Lord. You have become present with a result and absent from reality. And what will happen? Not lightning from the sky, not a curse, only this, distortion. The line hums with static. The click hides behind a fog of your own breath. Your prayer becomes a wire in the wind sound, but no music, because the instrument is being asked to play two tunes at once, God and me and mine. Carry this into ordinary images so that you cannot be deceived. Try to pour a crooked foundation for a straight house, you bring the house down upon yourself. It is not personal vengeance. It is the nature of load and plane. Try to speed a curve posted for 30 at 60. You do not insult the sign. You press your tires into physics. It is the same with this work. If you take beyond mind and attempt to make it a badge, a trick, or an escape hatch from apology, service, or honest labor, do not be shocked when anxiety increases and clarity thins. A man cannot drink salt water and not be thirsty. You cannot feed on self-seeking and discover sufficiency. Ye cannot serve God and mammon. Here, then, are the two commandments as guardrails, unromantic, immovable, merciful. One God, no idols, including the most charming idol of all, ego, with a spiritual vocabulary. Two, love thy neighbor as thyself, not sentimentality. Law. When you are consciously one with God, your oneness with all spiritual being and idea is established. You cannot harm your neighbor without harming your sense of God, because you cannot divide the one. In practice, this means no mental push, no silent argument, no occult suggestion, no attempt to bend a will. I have studiously avoided mental and physical contacts, and I hope you will never try to do them, because even if they seem to work, the edge would return upon the user. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Plant manipulation, reap mistrust. Plant truth, reap trustworthiness. Plant silence, reap guidance. How then shall you know that your recognition is authentic? By your fruit, not your slogans. By their fruits ye shall know them. The proof is increased harmlessness, not increased influence, more transparency, not more technique, clarity in the simplest dealings, patience in the slow tasks, a refusal to take advantage even when advantage is offered you on a plate. If awareness is real, it expresses as love and integrity, not manipulation. You will notice you thank more and grasp less. You will catch yourself about to correct another and instead correct the only one you can truly govern yourself. You will see fear or pride arise, and you will meet it not with argument, but with the same receptive silence that knows it as a passing weather and not an identity. You will find it increasingly impossible to lie. The tongue will not form the sentence, not as a discipline, but as the nature of being one with truth. This is not severity, this is freedom. The safety rail saves the child from the cliff, and he can run with joy within its embrace. When the two laws hold, your practice is safe, your life is sane. You will discover a lightness, no plots to maintain, no trophies to polish, no enemies to manage. Judge not, that ye be not judged. For in your oneness with God, judging collapses into seeing, and seeing flowers into compassion. And if ever you feel the old hunger to use this for me and mine, return at once to the password that strips away the idol. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Not my cleverness, not my argument, thy grace. In that grace the hand opens, the sword is sheathed, and we stand where we must stand for what follows. Not operator, but instrument, not the doer, but the willing transparency through which the Father does his own works. Instrument, not operator. Let that settle a moment, because it is the pivot on which the whole labor turns. I can of mine own self do nothing, said the Master, and the Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. I am merely the instrument. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. When this ceases to be a phrase and becomes a practiced recognition, a pressure leaves your chest, the strain to design every outcome, to defend every appearance, to protect the little shrine called me, it loosens. Freedom appears when personal will relaxes and a deeper intelligence is allowed to act. Now hear me plainly so you cannot be deceived. Surrender is not passivity. No, no. It is not a folding of the hands while the roof leaks. It is not neglect of duty dressed up as holiness. It is a change of authorship. Action continues often with greater swiftness and precision, but the sense that I, this private person, must engineer reality is replaced with consent. Father, glorify thyself. You will find yourself writing the letter that needs writing, making the apology that is due, paying the bill, calling the physician, showing up for the work only now, without the idolatry of imagining you are the source. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. The burden is light when you are not pretending to be the ox and the driver and the road all at once. Let us make this practical, because spiritual honesty is practical. There is a test you can run 100 times a day. Ask, from where is this impulse moving? Contraction or openness? Contraction has signatures. The breath shortens, the jaw sets, the mind rehearses its speech and demands a guarantee. There is hurry and a little heat, a need to win, to be right, to be seen. Openness has no trumpet. It is the quiet rightness that needs no inner sales pitch. It moves without the pinch of self-protection. It may say yes, it may say no, but either way it is free of the tremor of what will they think of me. In contraction, the small God on a plastic throne gives orders and demands results. In openness, the instrument is tuned and the music plays. Be still and know that I am God. But do not twist this to forsake common sense means. This is not a vow to shun medicine, avoid labor, or shrug at duty. Render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Render unto God what belongs to God. If the roof leaks, fetch a roofer. If the body signals for rest or for a remedy, obey the wisdom that appears. What is removed here is the little God mentality, the belief that a pill is the savior or that refusing a pill is the badge of faith. Neither is God. Both may be used by God. When the authorship is rightly assigned, it is the Father within me that doeth the works. The means become channels rather than idols. The hand that signs the check knows it is not the source of supply. The hand that administers care knows it is not the author of life. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. You will notice how this alters movement in the day. Where you once plotted, you now listen. Where you once pushed, you now consent. Decisions simplify. You may be guided to delay an hour and discover that in the delaying, the way opens of itself. You may be guided to speak plainly and discover that plainness resolves what cunning complicated. You will feel the difference in the marrow. Contraction leaves a wake of residue. Openness leaves a trail of peace. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. This surrender does not make you soft in the sense of weak. It makes you soft in the sense of permeable. You become porous to wisdom. Anger may knock. It does not have to rent a room. Fear may tap at the window. It does not have to become the landlord. The instrument is kept clean by the two laws we have already planted as rails. One God, and love thy neighbor as thyself. And see what happens as you live this, a subtle, undeniable softening of separateness. The competitor begins to look like a partner in your education. The stranger begins to wear the outline of a brother. The one who irritates you appears as a mirror in which your own contraction is revealed and released. Oneness ceases to be a doctrine and becomes the daily air. Rivalry loses oxygen because there is no private source to defend. In my conscious oneness with God, I find my oneness with all spiritual being and idea, and lived so. It is not speculation. It is kinship felt in the hand that turns the doorknob, in the voice that says, "Good morning," in the patience that waits for another to finish a sentence. So we return not to an achievement, but to a permission. Live thou thy life in me. Fulfill thyself as me. I am not in the physical. I am absent from the body and present with the Lord, which is to say, absent from the vanity of authorship and present with the living presence that does its own works. This hour, this task, this conversation, instrument, not operator, and when the old impulse to seize the wheel rises, lay your hand lightly back upon the truth that steadies all doing. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then do what is next, simply, cleanly, as one through whom the music plays. Oneness, when it is true, is not a soft glaze poured over hard edges. No, no. It is not sentimentality, not a handshake masking a calculation, not a smile with a hook in it. It is practical law. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself is not an embroidery for the parlor wall. It is the physics of consciousness. When I want nothing you have, and you want nothing that I have, then there is no possibility of a war. The flame finds no fuel. Grasping arrives and meets empty space, nothing to cling to, and it goes out. Perfect love casteth out fear, and with fear goes rivalry, goes the market of comparisons, goes the itch to be first at the expense of another's breath. Why? Because thought-based identity survives on a manufactured deficit. It whispers, not enough, and then sells you a ladder to climb out of the hole it just dug. It points to your neighbor and calls him the reason for your lack. Thought, untethered from truth, becomes a merchant of scarcity. But awareness-based identity, this simple priorness we have tasted, reveals sufficiency. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Not as a boast, not as a denial of bills or bread, but as the living fact that being itself is whole before the counting starts. In my conscious oneness with God, I find my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In that oneness, your good is not my loss, and my good is not your threat. Supply is not a private tub to be guarded. It is a sea in which we both float. And if I bail your boat, the tide that lifts you lifts me. Do not confuse this with naivete. Oneness is clear-eyed. It can say no with the same love with which it says yes. It will not enable deceit because it is joined to truth. It will not trade integrity for flattery because it is not hungry for a borrowed face. Let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. The end of competition in consciousness is not the end of excellence. It is the end of egoic anxiety. You will work with precision, perhaps more than before, because the work is a praise to God, not a plea for a crown. The hand builds clean because the heart is clean. I am merely the instrument. God is the actor. Let us make this immediate in speech, for speech is where wars are often born. Here is a practice. In conversation, notice the pause before your response. Do not rush to occupy it. Let that pause be the I. In that one beat of stillness, be absent from the body and present with the Lord. Then speak. You will find that answers arrive without the inner salesman, that boundaries draw themselves without hostility, that a correction, if needed, comes without the sting of superiority. If silence is the right response, it will hold its own. If apology is right, it will rise uncoerced. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. In that liberty, competition has nothing to sell you. Watch how this alters the social field. The colleague who once seemed a rival becomes a mirror for shared learning. The customer becomes a neighbor, not a target. The family disagreement becomes an unveiling of fear that can be met, not a trial to be won. When you want nothing from another but the truth of them, they are given room to be true. And when they want nothing from you, you are free. This is social proof in the only laboratory that matters, life. The room grows breathable, conversations streamline, gratitude appears without a speechwriter, and if another persists in grasping, you do not bite the hook. You remain in the pause that is I. I and my Father are one. Now we return to the challenge some of you carry honestly. Beyond mind is a lie. Good. Bring it into the light. What, for you, would count as honest evidence either way? If this recognition is real, rivalry should relax, fear should lose its teeth, the appetite for manipulation should wither. If it is fantasy, grasping will continue as before, or swell under spiritual language. We will not argue, we will test. In the next step, let us set down a fair verdict, not by belief, but by what can be repeatedly verified in your own consciousness. And as we move, keep the inner password close, not as ornament, but as consent. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Let us be just now merciful, but just. A fair verdict asks, what would prove this untrue for me? What would prove it true? If you sit in receptive silence 90 seconds, no goal, no bargaining, and what you meet is only dullness, only fantasy play acting, only agitation dressed up in holy clothing, if you rise from the chair and find yourself more irritable with your children, quicker to justify a lie, more pleased with your own reflection, then be honest. Admit it. Do not pretend. Do not paste a spiritual label over a restless mind. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. If you sow pretense, you will reap confusion. This is not punishment. It is principle. If 2 times 2 does not yield 4 in your figures, you do not publish a poem about numbers, you recheck your work. And what, without mysticism, are the sober indicators that this recognition is breathing in you? They are simple, almost homely. You notice more space around a thought, so you are less compelled to bite it. A provocation comes, and instead of a reflex, there is a pause, the I, and in that pause, heat drains and clarity speaks. Your conscience grows clearer, not heavier. An old debt presents itself, and you pay it without dramatics. You discover spontaneous kindness appearing unannounced. You set down your phone to listen. You let another go first. You answer a harsh email with a clean, brief truth rather than a clever triumph. You find that when fear arises, it is seen, not obeyed. When pride swells, it is recognized, not enthroned. By their fruits ye shall know them, not by fireworks, not by language, by fruit. Now, the non-negotiable, this experiment is repeatable or it is nothing. Return daily. Return when you do not wish to. Return in the train and at the sink and at the desk. Keep the appointment with silence for its own sake, not for results, and see where the recognition deepens. Do not measure days. Notice direction. Is reactivity decreasing, even slightly? Is conscience clearer, speech cleaner, generosity less calculated? If yes, the principle is proving itself like a faithful sum in arithmetic. If not, do not decorate failure. Adjust the approach. Drop the goal. Release the stopwatch. Set down the clever method and be still. Be still and know that I am God. Not know about. Know. Beware here of the thief called spiritual vanity. Experiences come and go. A warmth in the chest. A brightness behind the eyes. A sudden joy like a lifted veil. Be grateful, but do not build a tabernacle on a cloud. The point is not the weather of experience. The point is the ever-present knower in whom weather is seen. If light appears beautiful, if dryness appears, stay. If tears come, let them. No, no. Do not turn any passing wind into your God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. The me is this aware life, not the moods that pass across it. And what would falsify this for you decisively? This: if in honest repetition over time you find no increase of inner space, no softening of rivalry, no heightening of integrity, if the practice reliably yields only self-importance or numbness, then the thing you are practicing is not what we mean by being absent from the body and present with the Lord. It may be concentration. It may be daydream. It may be sedation. Acknowledge it. Start again. The law does not change because we misapply it. We must align. Let us make the recognition portable. As you rise from this talk and re-enter your ordinary appointments, carry a simple refrain, not as magic, but as consent. When a thought surges, when a choice appears, when the phone rings, let the inner tongue whisper what sets the authorship aright and returns you to the priorness we have tested. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it without ornament. Say it in the pause. Let it be your way of standing still amid the motion and verifying again in your own consciousness that what we claim is not a belief but a present fact. If it is true, it will show itself here again and again. If it is not, you will know honestly, and you will not need anyone's permission to lay it down. But I tell you, from the ground of this work, in my conscious oneness with God, I find my oneness with all spiritual being and idea, and the fruits will testify. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Let us make it very simple now. So simple a child can carry it. A password. Not a charm, not a bargaining chip, not a trick to make life obey you. A password that turns the face from effort to receptivity, from operator to instrument. When the old strain begins to rise, when you feel the hand on the wheel tightening, let the inner tongue speak for you what sets the authorship aright. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it and do not explain it. Say it and do not decorate it. It is the doorway back to the fact we have proven. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father within me, he doeth the works. Be still and know that I am God. The stillness is consent. The knowing is given, never seized. Take it on the breath. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. In the meeting, in the market, in the kitchen, in the night, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. When fear shows its face and sells you its ladder, do not climb. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. When pride whispers its speech into your mouth, do not rehearse. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. When the phone rings, when a bill arrives, when a child cries, when silence seems empty, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Do not analyze, receive. Let the words be the soft hand that removes your hand from the lever that the music may play. Now close the loop and be just with the first question that offends nobody. If you can watch a thought, what are you? Not the thought, never. The watcher of it, the awareness to which the thought comes and in which it goes. Rest as that, absent from the body, present with the Lord. No effort can make you what you already are. No idea can contain the one by which ideas are known. I and my Father are one. In my conscious oneness with God, I find my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. The watcher is not a person peering through the blinds. It is the very light by which the room is seen. When you take the password on your tongue, you are not summoning something distant. You are consenting to what already is. Let us say it once, and then be quiet together. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Now let the words fade. Let them fall through the floor and stay where you are. Notice what remains when language rests. The breath breathes. The senses register their soft parade. But there, prior to parade and breath, still intact, unconcerned with winning awareness, The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. When thought quiets, even briefly, grace reveals itself as the sufficiency already present. Not a future gift, not a reward for performance, but the fact of being before the counting starts. Take this into your days, not as a pose, not as a badge, but as a test you can rerun. For 7 days, give yourself this honest experiment, morning and evening, and whenever the bell of thinking startles you, whisper the password and keep a 90-second appointment with silence, no goal, no bargain, ask nothing, yield everything. Then let the fruit speak. By their fruits ye shall know them. Do you find more space before a reaction? Does rivalry thin, even slightly? Does speech grow cleaner, kindness less calculated, integrity easier than cleverness? If yes, the law is proving itself. If not, be honest and adjust less strain, more stillness. Not operator, instrument. We will not argue. We will verify. I am not in the physical. I am absent from the body and present with the Lord. I am merely the instrument. God is the actor. And because this is so, I can bless without cost, give without fear, stand without defense, and love my neighbor as myself. For there is only the one appearing as many. I thank you for your courage in this. I thank you for your honesty. Let us finish as we began, not with explanation, but with consent 3 times, so it sings itself home. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And so it is. I thank you.